So over the last few months or so, Bose has really been killing it when it came to their smart soundbars and smart speakers meant for the home. However, I do feel that Bose has been neglecting their more portable Bluetooth speakers. But now, we've got the Bose Soundlink Flex. Now, even though this thing does have a price premium to it, I do feel that the Bose Soundlink Flex easily sounds way better than its direct competitors, the JBL Flip 5 and Sony XB23. Now, regarding pricing, the Bose Flex retails for $150. Pretty steep if you ask me for a speaker of this size. But I feel the Flex does justify its price. But for comparison's sake, the JBL Flip 5 retails for $130, but does like to go on sale on a regular basis, and the Sony XB23 retails for $100. Nonetheless, if you want to pick any of these speakers up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch shelf down below. I've made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know I can be very particular. So I'll only set my name on something that I'm really proud of. Now, first let's talk about the design of the speaker. Now, I will admit the Flex is a little larger than I expected. It's not thick, but it does have a large footprint. Simply put, it does dwarf the JBL Flip 5, but the Sony XB23, not so much, because this is a pretty large speaker as well. Now, when it comes to materials, it's very refreshing to see that the Flex has a mostly silicone wrapped body and a powder coat steel grille on the front. It feels very durable, but it also feels very premium. Because for comparison's sake, most other portable Bluetooth speakers just have a fabric wrapped body. Now, I actually really like fabric wrapped bodies, but the use of silicone and steel on the Flex just feels way more premium and does help to justify its more premium price tag. Now, when it comes to durability, the Flex is rocking an IP67 rating, meaning that it's dustproof and waterproof. So if this thing were to get wet or submerged in water, it's not going to be an issue. And it even floats. However, I do want to address the fabric loop on this speaker. It's nice that it's there, but it's not the most useful. This loop is not elastic, and if you really want to use it, you're going to have to use a carabiner. And unfortunately, the speaker doesn't come included with a carabiner. So I do think this is a minor shortcoming on Bose's part. Because for comparison's sake, both the Flip 5 and XB23 have built-in loops as well, and these things are much easier to attach to things. But with that minor shortcoming aside, the Bose Flex has spectacular build quality that is both durable and premium. But the speaker is also very portable. The only thing is, I don't think that you can fit this speaker into a water bottle holder like so many people like doing with their Flip 5 and XB23. But now let's talk about tech specs. Regarding battery life, the Bose Flex has an advertised battery life of 12 hours, and just given its sheer size, I really wish that the speaker had a 20-hour battery life, or at the very least a 15-hour battery life. But regardless, real-world use with the speaker playing at 80% volume, it's good for 8 hours of playback time, which is not bad at all. And again, for comparison's sake, the Flip 5 also has an advertised battery life of 12 hours, and with it playing at 80% volume, it's good for around 7 to 8 hours of playback time. And then there's the Sony XB23, which has an advertised battery life of 10 hours with its extra bass mode turned on, which is how you should use that speaker. But with it playing at 80% volume, it's really only good for around 6 hours of playback time. Now, when it comes to charging the speaker, the Bose Flex charges via a USB-C port, as it should. But unfortunately, the USB-C port is the only port found on the speaker because the speaker does not have an audio jack. Now, I would say that I'm upset, but unfortunately, this is the norm now. But personally, I do feel that a speaker like this should have an audio jack just in case. And you also got to keep in mind, you can only use the speaker wirelessly. Unfortunately, you cannot use the USB-C port on the speaker as a wired connection. Now, when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, the Bose Flex is using Bluetooth 4.2. But more importantly, the speaker can be simultaneously connected to two devices at the same time. So you can either hot swap from one device to another super easy, regardless of operating system, which is great for power users, or this way, you and a friend can both be DJ. And when it comes to watching videos on the speaker, the Bose Flex has zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. But now let's talk about actually listening to music with this speaker. Regarding speaker setups, the Bose Soundlink Flex has a pretty basic speaker setup. It has a single front-mounted firing transducer and a pair of passive radiators that shoot out the front and back of the speaker. The JBL Flip 5 has a single front-mounted firing transducer with dual passive radiators that shoot out its sides. And then there's the XB23, which has dual front-mounted firing transducers and dual passive radiators that shoot out the sides as well. Now, for the sound test, all of these speakers are playing with their stock EQs, and when it comes to volume, both the Bose Flex and Flip 5 are playing at 87% volume, whereas the XB23 is playing at 94% volume.
A broken glass while I'm thinking in my head. I mind my own, I don't even break a sweat. Oh, this madness is insane. Why you still live in vain? I'm not the one, you're the victim of your own mistakes. It's sad to hear the lights under the street lights, under the street lights. Untold stories, they were left behind. Silent breeze, I got nothing on my mind. This madness is insane. Why you still live in vain? I'm not the one, you're the victim of your own mistakes. It's sad to hear the lights under the street lights, under the street lights.
So I'm just going to be blunt here, and I really think the Flex just sounds perfect. From an instrument separation standpoint, the Flex just sounds the most open, whereas the Flip 5 also sounds fairly open, but then there's the XB23, which just sound pretty narrow. The Flex also has the deepest and hardest hitting bass here, but the vocals are also well defined. Because if we were to compare the Flex to the Flip 5, even though the Flip 5 also has a decent amount of bass, the vocals do sound a little tinny by comparison. And then there's also max volume to consider. The Bose Flex gets noticeably louder than both the Flip 5 and XB23, and even at those higher volumes, the Bose Flex continues to sound very balanced and with good instrument separation. Whereas even though the Flip 5 also gets decently loud, it can sound a little tinny and compressed at those higher volumes. And then there's the XB23, which does struggle to keep up when it comes to max volume, mainly because it does have a warmer sound signature to it. So simply put, the Bose Flex easily outperforms both the JBL Flip 5 and Sony XB23 when it comes to both sound quality and max volume. However, one key detail that I do have to point out about the Bose Flex is that it doesn't have an adjustable EQ, like other Bose smart speakers or Bose smart soundbars. Now, personally, I think the Flex sounds perfect just the way it is, strong vocals and strong bass, but there are a lot of other speakers out there that have an adjustable EQ, so you can tune them to your liking. But now let's talk about pairing this speaker up with other speakers. The Bose Flex is a Soundlink speaker, meaning that you can wirelessly pair it up to one other Bose Soundlink speaker and either get them to play in sync or you can get them to play in left and right stereo mode. And you don't have to have two of these same models. Now, the easiest way to pair your speakers together is through Bose's Connect app. Or if you have one of Bose's smart soundbars or smart speakers, you can still pair a Flex up to them through Bose's music app using SimpleSync. So even though you can't pair like 5 Flexes together, Bose does give you a relatively good amount of flexibility if you've already invested into the Bose ecosystem. And I'm just putting it out there because I know it's not related. I still absolutely love my Bose Smart Soundbar 300. It's a ridiculous name, but that thing is actually pretty sick. However, when compared to your staples like the JBL Flip 5 and Sony XB23, the JBL Flip 5 can be paired up to a JBL Boombox 2, Extreme 3, Charge 5, Flip 5, or to a JBL Pulse 4, and you can pair up to 100 speakers together, which obviously is overkill, but personally I do feel that JBL has the best speaker pairing protocol out there because it's just super easy to use and it just works. Now with the Sony, you can also pair up to 100 speakers together and you can pair your XB23 up to either your XG500, XB43, XB33, or another XB23. And if you're feeling very adventurous, you can even pair your XB23 up to one of Sony's box speakers like either the Sony XP700 and XP500. Now personally, I don't really know why you would want to do that, but with Sony, you can. But finally, here's the microphone test for the Bose Soundlink Flex. Now, just a heads up, the Flex is about 4 feet away from me and it's sitting on a table and it's facing towards me. So I do think this is a very reasonable setup as to what to expect from the real world. Now, in general, a lot of other ultra portable Bluetooth speakers like the Flip 5 and Sony XB23 have removed their microphone. Now, personally, I really wouldn't bother taking phone calls with this speaker. I feel that the microphone in this speaker is really meant just so that you can interact with your voice assistant. But with all that being said, even though the Bose Soundlink Flex does have a rather premium price tag when compared to its most direct competitors, like the JBL Flip 5 and Sony XB23, I feel the Flex justifies its price. The Flex really does sound more open, has better clarity, and has better bass than these other two speakers. But the Flex also just feels way more durable and premium as well. The only drawback that I can point out about this speaker is that I wish it had a longer battery life, just given its size, and even though the speaker is meant to be ultra portable, it's not as portable as the Flip 5. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know, I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something that I'm really proud of.